Everybody. I don't know what just happened, but when you go live, sometimes things happen when it comes to technology. So we're going to start this, start this over here one more time. What's going on, everybody? If you're just joining me live, my name is Katie Lance, founder and CEO of Katie Lance Consulting, speaker. I do a lot of great speaking, author of the Get Social Smart book, and we have the opportunity to work with clients large and small when it comes to social media. So I was just chatting before we got cut off on Facebook Live. Try this one more time. Hopefully we get this works here. We were just chatting about some social media tips for 2018. So as I was saying, social media never replaces the face-to-face. It never replaces, meeting somebody for coffee. It never replaces a handshake or anything like that. It just only enhances it. And so as we gear up for 2018 and we think about our social media plan, now is the time to really get our ducks in a row, so to speak. So, by the way, welcome. If you're just watching live, leave me a comment below, or if you're watching the replay, leave me a comment below. Let me know that you're tuning in as well. Okay, so I'm sharing with you guys my top 5 tips for getting your social media strategy in check for the new year. And the first tip that I was sharing was that now is the time to plan your strategy. Now is really the time to plan out your next 6 to 12 months. It's really the time to think about what platforms are you going to be on, which ones make the most sense for you. I'm a big believer that you don't have to be everywhere. You don't have to be on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and everywhere, but pick one or two, go all in, pick the ones that make the most sense for you and your business and the ones that your clients are on. My second tip is to create your content plan. So I'm a big believer that it's not enough to just be on social media. It's not enough to just be on Facebook, or really think about what's your content strategy. What content can you create that's going to tell the story of what it feels like to work with you? So whether that's video or Facebook Live or podcast or blog content, whatever that content might be, creating content is really, really key. And I would encourage you, as you think about your content strategy, if you think about, okay, I can create something, I can create content once a month, I would encourage you to step that up and to think about, can you create content on a more consistent basis, maybe twice a month or even once a week? Because the more content you create, the leads that you get from that only increase, right? The success you get from social media only increases faster and faster. And so there's big opportunities to do that when it comes to social media. So plan it out, create a content strategy. A couple of the tools that I was talking about that really make a big difference, I find, when it comes to content strategy, are tools like Canva, WordSwag, Ripple. Those are 3 of my favorite tools. I'm not going to put any comments in below because I don't want to disturb the Facebook Live. But some of the tools I'm mentioning here, I will go back in and add to the chat afterwards. So welcome. By the way, if you're just joining me and you were on my last Facebook Live, I don't know what just happened. I think Facebook Live had a hiccup. So anyways, welcome. All right, so we're talking about how to get your social media strategy in gear for 2018. Now is definitely the time to plan. It's definitely the time to plan your content strategy. One of the things our team does each and every year is we take a look back at the previous year of the content we've created, what's worked, what doesn't work, and we literally map out our next 6 to 12 months of content. We get those really big Post-it notes and we brainstorm and we plan out, and we think about what are questions that we get asked all the time, what are things that we get asked over and over again, what are some of the conversations that we're seeing that would make great pieces of content. And I have to tell you that when you can plan out 3, 6, 12 months worth of content, and we just use a simple Google spreadsheet to do this, the value is that when it comes to creating content throughout the year, it can be fast and easy. And I'll just give you a quick example. At the beginning of this year, we sat down and said we really wanted to go more in with video. And so we started our vlog series, our Get Social Smart vlog series. And so we started that at the beginning of the year. And, what's great about that is I'm able to sit down and not just record one video, but we batch create a lot of our content. So I'll sit down and create 3, 4, 5 videos all in one batch, right? And then I'm set for the next 3, 4, 5 weeks, which is fantastic. I also am a big believer with your content strategy. It's not just content for the sake of content, but how can you repurpose and slice and dice your content? So if we're pushing out one video each week, that video many times will also turn into a Snapchat story or an Instagram story, or it'll turn into a few posts on Facebook or a few posts on Instagram, and really kind of repurposing it, not just one and done. Right? That makes a huge difference. So taking the time to plan, creating a content strategy. The third tip I'll give you today is systems. You really want to get systems in place when it comes to your social media strategy. So that can be as simple as every morning taking 10 or 15 minutes to look through your news feed, to look at what your clients are doing. I would recommend a big part of your system needs to be, how are you engaging in other people? How are you standing out in the news feed? How are you being interested in other people? If you don't feel like you're getting the engagement that you want to get on Facebook or Instagram or any social media channel, you really want to think about how interested are you being in other people, right? This is the part you can't outsource. You can't have someone else do this for you. You really need to take the time each and every day. And I've been doing this every morning for years and years. I have my cup of coffee and I open up my Facebook news feed. And the way I usually use Facebook is I will create lists. Within Facebook, you can create different lists of your friends, your family. I have client lists, and you can go right to your specific list. And instead of looking at your 500 Facebook friends, you can look at the 20 clients that you're working with right now. And you can see things like, they're going out of town, they're going on vacation, their kids are playing Little League, and taking a few minutes to like or comment and engage with those people, it makes a really big difference, right? It's a small little thing that over the course of time makes a really big difference. And when you think of social media from a real estate perspective, being able to use social media in a way that builds relationships is really key. So having systems in place, for me, we usually have 10 or 15 minutes every morning where I'm kind of checking in. I'm trying to be really intentional about connecting with people. I'm a big believer in Focus 5, and Focus 5 means intentionally connecting with at least 5 people every morning. And that doesn't just mean clicking like on 5 things, but really thinking about how can I be intentional, maybe post a thoughtful comment, maybe send someone a private message, send somebody a quick birthday video, whatever that might be, but really be intentional about that each and every day. I'll check in, throughout the day here and there on notifications, but I try to do that each and every morning. And then at least once a week, we have some time set aside once a week where I am scheduling some of my content. I'm a big believer in not necessarily schedule, set and forget it, but I'm also, I don't believe in automating things. I don't believe in, just setting things and forgetting them, but I'm a big believer in getting systems in place. So for example, every Friday I sit down and I schedule the next 3, 4, 5 days. Right? And that consistency makes a big difference. I'm able to look at my Facebook insights and look to see when are the best times to schedule my content. And then it also allows me that freedom to post things in the moment. So getting those systems in place, I would also, one other tip I'll give you in terms of scheduling and systems is setting aside time in your schedule either once a week or once a month where you're creating content, right? If you're not setting that time aside in your schedule, it won't happen. I know this from experience. So getting those things in place, getting them on your calendar, just like any other part of your business, is really key. By the way, if you're just joining, welcome. Leave me a comment below. We're just talking about social media tips and tools for 2018. Okay, tip number 4 is to increase your Facebook ad spend in 2018. Yep, I want you to spend more money on Facebook. And Facebook, it's not paying me to say this, although I should probably get something from Facebook for saying this. But one of the ways to stand out right now on Facebook is through advertising. And if you don't have a Facebook business page, you got to have a Facebook business page, because that's where you're going to do your posts about your listings and your lead generation and everything that you can do to build your business using Facebook ads. It's not going to come from your personal profile. Your personal profile is going to be the place where you build relationships and you wish people happy birthday and you connect with people on a personal level. But the business side of things, the lead generation, the promoting your business, promoting the listings, that all happens on your business page. And so making sure you've got your business page in check, looking at your Facebook ad budget. It used to be a few years ago, you could spend $5 here, $5 there and get traction. And that's not really the case now. The good news is you don't need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars, but I would really think about what is your ad strategy for next year. Who are you going to target? What does that look like? And getting a lot of those things in place and really kind of ramping up. And that might also mean taking a little bit of your budget from a different bucket. Maybe you've been doing postcards or traditional marketing for quite some time. And if that's not getting you the results that you have been looking for, then maybe taking some of those dollars and putting them more into Facebook or even Instagram advertising. So increasing your ad spend, I think, is really, really key. My 5th tip for 2018 is to think about social storytelling. So social storytelling is kind of taking the world by storm in many ways. We're seeing things like Facebook stories. If you look on Facebook and you see those little circles, those are Facebook stories, Instagram stories, Snapchat stories. And this whole idea of social storytelling, which is creating content that disappears within 24 hours. And so you might think about, why would I create content that just disappears? But what we're seeing are agents and brokers who are creating some social storytelling content is that they're telling the story behind the story. Right, so you might have your polished video that you post once a week to Facebook, but your Facebook story or your Snapchat story or your Instagram story is the backstory of getting that video published, of of the backstory of in the car as you're in between appointments working with clients. And so we have found that sort of story behind the story, so to speak, can be really, really powerful. And so I think we're only going to see more and more of that in 2018. By the way, if you just joined me, in case you don't know me, my name is Katie Lance. I run a social media marketing firm in the beautiful San Francisco Bay Area, and we help companies get smarter about how to use social media. We're just going through some tips on how to get smarter about your social media strategy for next year. So my top 5 tips were: number 1, now is the time to plan. Number 2, create your content plan. Number 3, get your systems in check. Number 4, increase your Facebook ad spend. And number 5, think about social storytelling. By the way, if you have any questions for me, put them in the comments below. I'm happy to take some questions. I'm going to add some bonus tips here because we all like some bonus tips. A couple things that I think are really important also with your social media strategy is having the right attitude. I think your attitude is half of it right there. I know it can get frustrating as things change, the iPhone updates or the Facebook changes a button, but having the right attitude, I think, is really, really key. So that's a big, big thing I'll mention. Another thing I'll just touch on really quick is LinkedIn. LinkedIn sometimes doesn't get a whole lot of love. LinkedIn, for a lot of agents, has become kind of the set it and forget it network. But as you're thinking about your social media plan for next year, I would really encourage you to think about what your LinkedIn plan look like. And also, if anything, go on to LinkedIn, make sure your photo's up to date, make sure you've got your contact information, don't be a secret agent, make sure you've got some information about yourself, because for a lot of agents, LinkedIn has become the sort of this dusty thing that just sort of sits there online. So it's a great time right now to kind of audit yourself with LinkedIn as well as your other social media profiles and see, are things up to date? Do you have your photo up to date? Do you have your other information up to date? And I think that's really, really key. As sort of a side note to that, as you are sort of auditing your LinkedIn, you might even kind of do a self-audit of yourself online. Go into Google, log out of Google, and then Google yourself and see what are the top 5 to 10 things that come up. Is it LinkedIn? Is it Facebook? Is it Twitter? If it's anything that's outdated, you might consider maybe either updating it, deciding whether or not you're going to use it, or if it makes sense, maybe deactivating it, right? A lot of you, for example, not you specifically, but a lot of agents in general I see have Twitter accounts that haven't really been touched in like a year or two. And so you might want to save that Twitter account and still use it one day, but maybe for the time being, maybe deactivate it, just turn it off publicly, because sometimes it's a little bit more negative when someone Googles you and they find something that's not necessarily up to date with who you are. So now is a great time to kind of brush up, look at your Facebook page, look at your Instagram account, look at any accounts that you have, and just make sure that they're up to date, that they're really a true reflection of who you are in your business. Okay, a few other quick tips here. I will mention mobile is key for 2018. Right now 1 in 5 mobile minutes is being spent on Facebook. So really thinking about what's your mobile strategy in 2018, I think, is key. And I don't mean necessarily getting an app. I think your mobile strategy needs to be a couple things. What does your website look like? What does your email marketing look like? And what does your social media strategy look like? What does it look like on mobile? Because we're living in a mobile first world where mobile is the first place that we're going. It's the first place that we're connecting with people. And so really thinking through that, I think, makes a lot of sense. Okay, last few tips here. Email is kind of the kissing cousin to social media. So I would highly encourage you, as you think about your social media plan for 2018, also think about what's your email marketing plan, right? What are those systems that you're going to have in place to put out really valuable content through email marketing, whether it's an email newsletter, whether it's taking your video content or your Facebook Live content and promoting that through your email to your database. But building your email newsletter, your email list, can be really powerful for so many ways. I know, none of us like spam. Sometimes we're a little over emailed out, but email, I think, makes a huge difference in your social media strategy and in your content strategy. When it comes to our weekly videos that we do, I'll just give you a quick example. That weekly video gets pushed up to YouTube. It gets uploaded to Facebook. It gets shared on our email list. We do a Facebook ad with it. It gets turned into, like I said, an Instagram story or Snapchat story. It gets sliced and diced in a number of different ways. But we found that through email, we're able to really provide great, valuable information. And it's pretty funny. I find that a lot of people will stay on our email list for a long time. I'll hear things like, oh, I've been getting your email newsletter for years, or I've been, getting your emails for a long time. And then they turn into a lead, and then they turn into business. So it's like anything. It just takes time to cultivate that. A little side tip, a bonus tip that we share in our Facebook ads course is that when you take your email list, you can actually take your email list and upload that back up into Facebook and then run ads to people on your list. This is what's called a custom list. And we've had a lot of success doing that, where we download our email list into a spreadsheet, we upload that back up into Facebook in Facebook's ad manager, and then we're able to run ads to that specific list. And that's a big tip I'll give you when it comes to Facebook ads. A lot of times we're running ads to these really broad audiences. Run your ads to the warmest audience possible. Run your ads to people who are already on your email list, who already know, like, and trust you, who've already engaged with your Facebook page, or who've already engaged with you on video, or who've already engaged with you on your website. And so that warm audience is really, really key. And it all comes back to what are your systems, what are your content. All of that makes a big, big difference. Okay, my last kind of fun tip here as we get towards the end is emojis. Emojis can make a really big difference. The smiley face, the thumbs up, they really bridge the gap, and they can really make a big difference when it comes to standing out in your noisy news feed, right? Our news feeds are noisier than ever before, but emojis can make a really big difference. And we're seeing agents and brokers who are using emojis, especially with their Facebook ads, with Instagram, that are really getting a lot more traction just from a few simple emojis. So those are a few of my quick tips. I would love to take any of your questions. If any of you have any questions about social media, sorry, my nose is a little itchy here. We've got some allergies happening here in the San Francisco Bay Area. But yeah, anyways, I'm happy to take any of your questions. If you're watching live, feel free to put your questions below. Or if you are watching the replay, put your questions below. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Like I mentioned, social media doesn't replace face-to-face. It'll never replace a handshake or meeting somebody for coffee or anything like that. It's just, when done right, it only makes it better. And so as you think about your social media strategy for 2018, I would really encourage you to think about what are some things that you can do right now to get your systems in place, to get your strategy in place. How are you going to be interested in other people? How can you be really intentional? Because without being, if you're not intentional, you're just sort of throwing something against the wall and hoping it sticks. So be really intentional with your social media strategy. Really get your consistent plan in place. I can guarantee you right now, as you look around your local market, there's probably some people that are doing content here and there or Facebook ads here and there, but I would really encourage you and challenge you to be the one in your market that is doing it consistently, because the person who's consistently doing it is the one who's going to win, I think, in the long run. So be consistent, create that plan. There's a lot of great things that you can do that don't cost a whole lot of money. And obviously investing your time is a big, big one in that. So anyways, for more information, if you'd like any additional information, you can go to my website, katielance.com. We have lots of great free resources. If you click on our online store, we have a lot of great courses and my book and more information about our academy. So if you're thinking about your social media strategy for next year and looking for some additional learning, we would love for you to check that out. So anyways, thanks so much for joining us. Sorry we had a few little tech issues in the beginning. I definitely appreciate you hanging with me. Feel free to reach out to me anytime if you have any questions, and you can post your questions below as well. All right, guys, thanks so much. Have an awesome rest of your year. Big thanks to Tyler also for inviting me to be here and to speak to all of the awesome agents and realtors here in North Carolina. All right, bye for now. Take care.